Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our monthly client case study. Welcome to everyone who is tuning in right now. We're so happy to see you. If you are here, can you give me a big yes in the chat if you can hear me and see me okay? And I'd also love to know where you're tuning in from. So you let me know in the chat. We are actually broadcasting to several different locations right now. So this is really fun and super exciting. We are not only on Facebook, we are on YouTube, and we are also on LinkedIn. So hello to all of you tuning in from all of the different platforms. This is going to be an incredible story. It's going to be inspirational. It's going to be educational. It's going to pull your heartstrings. It's going to do all the things. I did not mean to rhyme there. And it's going to be really helpful if you have been thinking, okay, I have this thing that I'm good at. I have this expertise, but I am sick of trading my time for money. I'm sick of the instability, and I am ready to create more consistency in my life and to really build the lifestyle that I want around my business and not have my business run my entire life. So if you can relate to that at all, give me a boss in the comments. Hello, everyone. Hi, Robert. Hi, Leanne from Huntington Beach. David A. Jones from the UK. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, even so it is well from Tolland, Connecticut, I believe. Brittany from Salt Lake City. Let's see who else. My team is here. We've got people from the Authority Accelerator program here. Hi, Tong. Hi, Lynn from Davie, Florida. Hello, Linda. Nice to see you here as well. Okay, so let's kind of dig in to what we're going to talk about today. And before I get into the details of our very special guest, if you don't know me and you're not familiar with me and you're new here, first of all, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. And I promise this is going to be a jam-packed next hour. My name is Sunny Lenarduzzi. I'm the founder of the Authority Accelerator, which is our signature program. And we help you take your unique genius and expertise and stop trading time for money by helping you package your expertise into a highly scalable, highly profitable online course business. And we've now helped thousands of people all over the world, from dancers to doctors to accountants to DJs to producers to everything in between. And this is just one of the stories of our amazing clients inside of the Authority Accelerator program. And we do this every month. And if you want to catch up on these and you want to binge watch them, there's a ton of them on our YouTube channel, so you can take a look there. So without further ado, I do want to introduce our very special guest. And if you're tuning in here, give this video a quick like so we can reach more people and impact more people with this story, because it really is incredible. Give it a like, be sure to comment throughout, and you can ask questions at the very end, and we'll be sure to answer those for you if you have any that come up. And let's dig into it. Okay, so first I want to kick off with a little story. So Will, who is a freelance music producer, he has a ton of experience. This is years ago, but he had absolutely no blueprint to help him reach his big goals. And he had just lost one of his biggest clients, which unfortunately led to a drastic cut in his monthly income by half. Imagine right now, if you lost one of your biggest clients, what that would do to your business. So it cut his income in half. This unexpected incident caused a huge shift in his business, where he was just barely making ends meet with his freelance work. And now he was hurled into a world of complete uncertainty in amongst trying to balance his life outside of his business. I mean, I'm sure some of you are sitting there going, man, I can relate to this story, because it's very common, unfortunately, and very relatable. So in the depths of stress and with a sickening knot in his stomach, he knew he never wanted to put himself in that position where he was barely holding on, just trying to stay afloat. He was at a place where he had nothing to lose but big dreams to achieve if he could just find his way out of the situation. He immediately got to work and tried a ton of different things to done a ton of different things to try and dig himself out of his hole that he had gotten himself into. And that included launching a few low ticket courses. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. He wasted thousands of dollars on paid advertising. So Facebook ads and YouTube ads, regularly posting content on his YouTube channel of 6,000 subscribers, but still, no matter what he tried, nothing was moving the needle for him. All these failed attempts at busy work proved to be ineffective. So he knew it was time to get creative and try something outside of the box. So we meet. Will enrolls in the Authority Accelerator, and fast forward to today. Will has quit freelance work since joining our program and has scaled his online course business while doing so much less. We're going to get into the details of how he's done this and a lot of tactical advice today, but I want you to truly understand the transformation that's happened here because it's incredible. So this is the story of how he went from no freedom, no flexibility, and no control of his business to building a thriving online business that's allowed him to build a life and business that thrives with consistency and certainty anywhere in the world. So today I'm talking with Will about how I created this thriving and highly impactful online program helping bedroom music producers go from frustrated with their amateur sounding music to being able to produce music to a professional standard so they actually love the music they make and realize their music dreams. Who is excited? If you're excited, put heck yes in the chat. And let me just go through a few milestones before we bring Will on. Here are just a few of the things that Will has achieved in the last year and since becoming a part of the Authority Accelerator program. He went from 6,000 to 100,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel called EDM Tips. And his subscriber count has tripled within just 1 year of us working together. His online course business has either doubled or tripled in revenue each year since enrolling in our program. And he's shifted away from constantly living in doubt, working as a freelancer, and now has consistent revenue coming in each month, which gives him peace of mind. Both he and his wife moved to Portugal, where they're able to work from wherever they want, making a much higher income than ever before, paying their team well, doing what they're passionate about, and helping people achieve their musical goals. And several of his clients, this is legit, several of his clients are achieving huge success. That's what this is all about, the impact that you can have. They're getting their music played on BBC Radio. Some students have even been supported by the world's biggest DJs and producers like Armin van Buuren, Roger Sanchez, Ferry Corsten, and Pete Tong. And some have racked up millions of Spotify streams between them. So, without further ado, let's bring Will on. Hi, Will. How are you?
I quite like being described as a special guest. So yeah.
You're our featured special guest for the day. I'm so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure being here, and thank you for inviting me.
Of course. I mean, I want to dig into your story. I want to dig into the details of how you're able to do this. And I want to kind of let the audience know that we're going to get really tactical today as well. Some of the things that we're going to dig into are falling in love with your clients and not your product and why that was so important for you. The key to magnetize the right client on YouTube and why doing less. Yes, I said less. Why doing less led to more sales and more simplicity for you in your life and your business. But before we get there, let's start with your journey as an entrepreneur. Let's kind of start from the beginning so people can understand.
Yeah, I mean, you touched upon it earlier, which is I've always been a freelancer my whole life, really, as music production, graphic design, and DJing. And yeah, as you said, one day I was 31 actually, so I'd already been working for a fair amount of time, and one of my main client really just quit the work. In fact, it's because he fell off the back of his boat when it was in dry dock and bumped his head.
Oh my gosh.
And he was okay, but in the couple of weeks where he was recovering, so one of the other partners in the business brought in a different freelancer, and that was that. So I remember sitting down on a bench just looking out to the sea after my income had been slashed in half, thinking, I'm never going to let this happen to me again. It was just such a horrible, knotty feeling in the stomach. And then I started on the online business journey, and reluctantly at first, a friend kind of got me into it who was already teaching people guitar. And as you said, I did that for a couple of years with, some low ticket courses, and it was kind of working a bit, but it was a long slog and it was a lot of work. And then when I joined the Authority Accelerator, it just made such a difference, because then I started focusing on just one real core offering and just doing it really, really well. And simultaneously focusing on growing the YouTube channel, again, with the advice that you give in the program. So it was a combination of these two things, really, increasing the audience and focusing in what I was doing for them, and just trying to do the best job in the world of anyone teaching music producers.
I love it. And you've definitely done so. I mean, as I said, your clients are seeing incredible results. And as I always like to say on these, that is the purpose of creating an online education business, an online course business. It's not about, how much money you're going to make. It's about how many people can you actually impact and create real shifts and transformations for. And for you, I mean, your biggest shift in transformation obviously was you started as a freelancer, and I kind of want to dig into that because I know there are people here today who are freelancers, and they're kind of dabbling and they've maybe got a side hustle going, and it can feel a little bit like almost false stability when you're in that space. Can you talk about what it was like for you to be a freelancer and how much your headspace is shifted around that kind of work at this point?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to even put myself in the headspace that I was in before, because now, now it's just a completely different life that I'm living than I was a couple of years ago. But I've always been an independent person, so freelancing has suited me, and I could travel the world with my laptop and kind of in the same way that I'm doing now. But the difference was when I was working, then I was earning money, and then I'd stop working and stop earning money, and I'd use the money up and then have to do some more work.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different way of living. And then when you get a situation like losing a really important client, or for whatever reason, work just dries up 1 month or a couple of months, then it's scary. You're like, oh no, what do I do now? And something always came through at the last minute, but it wasn't a steady lifestyle. And I knew I wanted to get married. I'd recently met Mila, who's now my wife, and I was like, okay, well, I kind of have to get my shit together. Pardon my French. And it was just, losing that client and then having that motivation to make something more of myself and my life. Just, it was the right combination to just give me the fire that I needed. Yeah, and that was my journey. And then it was just working hard at that, and having someone to work for as well, being my wife. You don't want to be you don't want her to have to worry about money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you had kind of the perfect tipping point, as we like to say, of like, all right, I have to make a change here. It's urgent. I need to figure this out.
Exactly.
And I think I want to touch on, this is a really important piece, and I really try and hone in on this with everyone that we speak to, your own journey and how it aligns with what you're now teaching other people. Because I think oftentimes we see other people who have successful online businesses, successful businesses in general, successful courses, and we go, oh, well, I can just learn what they're doing and I can just teach that thing. That's kind of going to limit your success, and it's short-term success. To create long-term success, it has to be truly authentic to you,
Yeah.
and it has to be really aligned with your own story. And so for you, how does what you teach align with your journey?
So music, like dance music, I've always been obsessed with it since I was the age of 11, and that's when I started making it on my big brother's computer. Um, and I used to learn classical piano when I was a kid, but dance music always just, I don't know, I just absolutely love it to bits. DJing is the most amazing feeling in the world, when you're playing to a room of people and you're all on the same level. It's incredible. So it was, it's an absolute joy to teach it. I know that's not, it's not super amazing to say that, but that's how it feels. It's an absolute privilege. And when I hear people get success, and when I hear their music and it's better than what I can produce, I'm like, nice work. But the actual building the course is the journey that I went through. I mean, when I was learning music production, I was self-taught, and then I bought all of the Future Music magazines. I'd go to seminars, I'd speak to famous producers. It took years to get good. And then I thought, well, how about I can just, it wasn't like I came up with the idea of teaching people stuff on an online course. It wasn't like, oh,
No, of
no
course
one's
not.
ever done that before. There were other music production courses out there already,
Yep.
and I took them. I think that's a good idea as well. Just see where people are perhaps not doing as good a job as they could. Where
Mhm.
are they doing a good job? And then just try and make the best thing that you can. And so, yeah, I basically consolidated my 20 years of experience and thought, how can I kind of get all of these points across and save people months or years of their life?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not sure if that's kind of what you were after, but
No, it
That's
is
how.
for sure. I think sometimes what we're meant to teach people stares us right in the face, and it's hard to see because we take it for granted. And so we were talking before we went live, and I think this is important for people to hear that you kind of said, "Oh no, I'm not sure if I want to make an online course," because you knew
Yeah.
somebody else who was teaching. They had a course for learning guitar, and you're like, I don't know if I really want to do that. And I think a lot of the times that comes from feeling like, is what you know actually valuable? Like there's a little sense of imposter syndrome. Did you feel that
Oh,
for
I
yourself?
still feel it all the time,
Same.
honestly, with everything I do. But everything I've done that is scary has been worth doing.
Yeah,
And I always do
absolutely.
scary stuff because if you don't, then you don't do much.
It's very true.
But yeah,
That's a good point.
that imposter syndrome was there. But having someone to say, "Look, it's okay. You don't need to," and I've said this to people as well. You don't need to be the best person in the world. You just need to be better than the people that you're teaching.
Mhm.
Because some people are just starting,
Yeah.
and you've been doing what you've been doing for, I don't know, 8 years,
Mhm.
not your whole life. Maybe it's
Mhm.
only 5 years,
Yeah.
but there's still stuff that you know now because you've been doing it for 5 years that beginners would love to learn.
Yes.
So you don't
Absolutely.
need to be the best person in the world. You just need to
Yeah.
know more than the people that you're teaching.
And that is a perfect segue because I want to get into the tactics. I want to talk about falling in love with your clients, not your product. And part of that, which we're going to get into in a second, is understanding, as you just mentioned, it's not like you have to know absolutely everything, but everybody here has an expertise. Everybody here has experience and a unique genius. And when it comes to creating a program or an online course, you have to identify, okay, who am I teaching and where are they at? That's the biggest factor
Yeah,
because you're not trying to teach, the world's best DJs how to become better DJs. You're teaching people who are doing this, kind of in the privacy of their own home and they're dabbling, but they want it to be at a professional standard. That's a
yeah,
huge difference. So, big takeaway for everyone here is you want to identify, okay, what's my experience level and how could I best support people, and where would those people be at on their journey where I can have the biggest impact? So we call it the 3 factors of your ideal client. One specific ideal client, one specific place on their journey seeking one specific transformation. When you get clarity on that, you can have the biggest impact on the right people. So we're going to get into the tactics in just a second. Before I do that, I just wanted to let you know my team is here. And if you're interested at all in creating an online course business, super easy. All you need to do is comment below with apply, and you can speak to Jacqueline or Bree from my team. They're here and chatting. So if you want to say hi, Jacqueline and Bree, that would be great in the comments. I know I've seen a few comments already, and I'll put this into the chat as well. So whatever platform you're watching on, just comment with apply. Super simple. You can actually speak to a real human being, and we can help you on your journey to making this a reality. All right, so let's dig in. So fall in love with your clients, not your product. Let's talk about that because I think the biggest mistake people can make when it comes to building an online program, an online course is they build it, they spend months, sometimes years building it and have no proof that it's actually going to sell. And they don't really know who they're even selling it to. So when they do try and sell it, no one buys it, which is just soul crushing. So, what does that mean for you to fall in love with your clients, not your product?
So, well, it means that it's a lot easier to make changes to your product because you're always trying to put yourself in someone else's shoe. It's empathy really, and that's a skill. You can practice it and you get better at having empathy. But if you fall in love with your audience, you're always thinking, and it's again, it sounds cheesy, but it's a pleasure. Like I like just sitting there thinking, okay, what are they struggling with? And I know what they're struggling with
Yeah.
because now I've been working with them long enough, and I am where they were. So
Mhm.
most of the things that people teach, you actually do understand the audience to a degree because you are that audience.
Yes.
But if you fall in love with the audience, then if a program gets outdated or new tactics need to be taught, then you can just, okay, scrap it. What
Yes.
do they need now at this point? Whereas what people do, and it's not just online course businesses, but they'll have an idea and they'll think, and the more they think about this idea, the more they're convinced it's the best idea in the world, and it's some random product like, I don't know, a corkscrew apple polisher. and then and then they love it and they go and patent it or patent it, and then they take it to market and no one buys it because no one needs a corkscrew apple polisher. Um, and it's kind of the same with online courses. People think, yes, I can do this, and before they even speak to their audience, and
Mhm.
if you speak to your audience, they might say something and you'll just get this little absolute glean of gold, and they'll be like, I didn't even consider that. Of course, that makes perfect sense. And then how can I solve that problem for them as quickly as possible?
Yes.
And if you're always thinking like that, it makes everything easier. And then when you get, as your audience grows, as you'll get haters now and again, and they'll send you horrible emails and stuff. All of that gets much easier to deal with if you have just got your ideal audience and their best interests at your heart.
Yeah,
If
when
you're
you're
doing it for you and your ego, then that stuff lands a lot more.
of course, when you do it to fulfill your own ego, then you're very vulnerable and very fragile. But when you know you're only speaking to, this one ideal client, all of the other stuff and the superficial stuff and the external stuff really does fall away because you're like, I don't care if it landed for that person because they're not my audience. And that's okay. I'm not here for everybody. I'm here for the people I can have the biggest impact on. And I hope that that really lands for all of you here, because that is the key to truly being able to grow in a way that's super peaceful, and super sustainable for the long run. I wanted to touch on two things you said there because I think they're really important. Number one is empathy. I think that one of the biggest skill sets as an entrepreneur is empathy. You have to be a wildly empathetic person because you actually have to care about the people you're serving and how you can best help them. And oftentimes, empathy is rooted in our own story. And you also said this, which I wanted to really just echo because I say this all the time. You said, I was in their shoes. So when you have actually lived the experience that your ideal client is going through, and we call that the zero state. So your course is going to take people from zero to hero. And ultimately, you've usually been through that zero state. So you know how to relate to them, you know how to speak to them, you know what they're struggling with. And it allows for these really deep, meaningful relationships and conversations with your clients because you get it. You're
Yeah,
not speaking from up here and you've never been where they are. You're speaking from, I have been there, now I'm here, and I'm going to help you rise with me.
yeah.
So important to understand that piece of it, empathy and being a mirror for your ideal client. And I wanted to ask everyone here if there's any light bulbs coming up for you when you're listening to this in terms of what you think you might want to teach, or maybe some challenges that you're facing when it comes to creating an online course. Share with us in the comments. And we're going to dig into questions at the end as well. Is there anything else you wanted to add onto that piece?
Um, Not really. I mean, I think you pretty much covered it. But yeah, actually, tying back to what you said about just finding an online course that you think successful and then just copying it, but making your own version. If you've actually gone through the process yourself, 100% right. You've got the empathy, then you can understand where they're coming from. If you just find a course on, I don't know, brewing beer at home and you think, well, it's doing well, so I can make one myself, you won't understand
Nope.
unless you've gone through the process of trying to brew beer at home.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think understanding nuances, right? So it's like
Yeah,
anybody could say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to teach you how to brew this beer at home, and I'm going to learn the tactics of it because I learned them from somebody else. I'm going to copycat that." But then what happens when you run into the hiccups and the unique things that only happen in that instance? That comes from experience.
yeah,
So your experience really does matter. Your experience is what sets you apart from anybody else in that same industry. And also, the more the merrier. If there are other people who are doing courses that are like yours, it's actually a great thing. You kind of mentioned this. It's proof. It's
yeah.
proof that people need it.
That's one of the things I learnt from the first guy, the first mentor I had, really, which was my friend with the guitar business. I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, but there are other people doing this," and he said, "That's a good thing."
Yes.
He said, if you want to do something that no one else is doing, there's probably a reason why no one else is doing it."
It's so true. It's so true. So competition, quote unquote, I don't think anyone's competition when you're uniquely yourself, but other people in the marketplace, other people doing similar things to you, it is proof. It is a good thing. And it's an opportunity to learn, and to use them as an example. So really hone in on what your unique experience is. Try and avoid going surface level, going broad. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later because that piece is so vitally important when it comes to actually creating your program and creating it the right way. So If you're sitting here going, well, I was just going to make an ebook, or I just wanted to, make some YouTube videos, and that's what's going to build my business, please stay tuned because we're going to dig into that in a little bit. So the next piece to this is the key, we'll play on words, the key to magnetize the right client on YouTube. So like I said, you've gone from 6,000 subscribers to 100,000 plus on your EDM tips YouTube channel. And I know there was a big piece of that that really helped you grow. Do you want to dig into what that was?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think when I got in contact with you first, it was specifically about that, trying to get more people seeing the YouTube channel. And you, in the Authority Accelerator, you taught me all of these really kind of professor tips about keyword research. And everyone knows about keyword research. They know they need to do it. Anyone that started any business, they've heard these words: keyword research, keyword research. But you actually gave, specific numbers of what they should be hitting, the keywords, and how actually quantifiable data. So you can look at it and you say, okay, well, this fulfills all of those criteria that Sunny laid out, so this is a good thing to do. And then I kept implementing that, and it made a huge difference. And before I was researching competitors, well, other YouTube channels on music production, and just trying to make better videos than they were doing, which is what you should still be doing.
Yes.
But combined, just try and make the very best thing. And again, it goes back to empathy. So, going into the comments and seeing what people were asking, thinking, okay, I'll cover that in my video. And that was working. But then when I combined it with the keyword research that you were suggesting, it just it was both things helped it take off.
Yeah, totally. One of our clients who I actually interviewed on this channel, he mentioned that as well, and that's one of the strategies that we talk about inside of our program. Is yes, it's both an art and a science. I think that's the important thing to understand with YouTube. It's a science because you don't want to drown in the amount of other search results that there are and other videos that there are on a topic. So you have to be very strategic in how you play the game, and also ensuring that your videos are actually going to be seen, because if you go after a topic that's too competitive, then you're not going to get seen. So I'll kind of dig into that in a second. But one of the big pieces is know who else is showing up in your category and look at their videos, and especially look at old videos that are ranking super high and go, what can I add to this from my own unique experience? What's missing? What are the comments saying? Are they saying this is really great? If they're saying there's maybe something missing, or that this part wasn't so good, does it need to be updated? How can I add a fresh perspective on what is a popular topic? So I think that piece of it's really important. And then in terms of the search volume and pool, when it comes to keyword research, which is something that I really developed over a lot of years of doing YouTube, is understanding that you want to make sure that it's a balance of search volume being decent to high, and the pool, meaning the amount of results you're competing against, the amount of videos you're competing against, is low. And when you can find that balance, that's usually when you're going to strike gold on YouTube with your channel. Is there anything else that you want to add there when it comes to YouTube? And also, how did you feel when you got started with it? Did you feel overwhelmed? Did you feel like it was ever going to work? Did you ever feel like you'd have over 100,000 subscribers?
Well, I knew that I ultimately would, because I'm ambitious and I won't give up until I do something. But God knows how long it would have taken me. I could have been plugging away for ages and ages. So yeah, no, I think we covered it all, really. Just
Perfect.
it is intimidating because there's so much you could be doing. And I think that goes for online business in general. What I've found, the biggest struggle is there's a million things you could be doing. And the bigger the business gets, the more options there are.
Yeah.
And it's just about having a program that's laid out step by step.
Yep.
And having yourself and your team to weigh in and say, well, actually, no, just focus on this because this is the most important thing. That is super helpful. Like, it can't be understated how cutting away the infinite options there are is important.
Yeah, that brings us perfectly, nice segue into you're not new to this, into point number 3. Before I get there, I just want to say edit and elevate Brian Tong, I think. and Wealth Learning TV. If you are kind of struggling with niche and struggling with your course idea, like I said, all you need to do is comment with apply. And Bree and Jacqueline from our team are here, and they can hop on a call with you, and we can support you in that process to get this course to actually be a reality. So, like I said, the keyword is apply. Just drop it in the comments on whatever platform you're watching this on. Okay, so let's dig into the third piece, which, like I said, it was a great segue. Why doing less led to more sales and simplicity for you. I know this has been quite the journey for you because when you started, you had like a bunch of offers, right?
Yeah.
How did that process go?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first product that I created was an ebook, and I was selling it for $17. And then I created my first video course, and that was just a section of music production. It was called Music Theory for EDM Producers, and all of that was fine, and I was getting some traction and getting great feedback and whatnot. But it's because you're dealing with lower numbers as well. It takes a long time, especially if you haven't yet got an audience, right? If you've got 100,000 people in your audience and you sell a $27 product, okay, well, you might make a bit of money from it.
Yeah.
But if you've got no audience, then it's very hard. So after a couple of years of that, I was trying the paid ads route. So Facebook ads, to the kind of click funnel thing, like go to a funnel, get an upsell, add a bump offer, and that hopes that your final customer spend might be $50 or $60 instead of 20. And that was fine. It was all part of the process. I'm glad I did it. But then when I joined the Authority Accelerator, you were focusing on creating one high ticket offer, just selling less of them to really qualified clients. And that made a combination of that and the YouTube growth made all the difference to the business.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
And I
because
think, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because if, for example, as we touched upon earlier, if you've got 5 or 6 products, that's 5 or 6 sales pages, that's 5 or 6 email funnels, that's 5 or 6 lots of support, and then you have to go support for module 3, lesson 1. Well, which course is that? And it's just a lot of extra work rather than just
Yeah.
having one excellent program.
Yes. And it goes back and ties into what we were talking about originally around the most important piece of creating an online course is results. So like even if you have a program here, maybe someone's watching right now and they have a course, and their biggest focus is on, I need more people in the course and I need the funnel to work and I need ads and all this stuff. I challenge you to really look at what are the results your clients are getting right now, because if the course isn't actually creating an impact, that's where you have to start, because only so many people will join a program if it's not actually working and getting results. And how does a program work really well? It has to be focused on those 3 key factors of your ideal client we discussed earlier and have a very clear transformation and be based on experience that you feel very confident in teaching. So I think that piece can't be overlooked, and it often is, unfortunately, and it leads a lot of people to just giving up and quitting. And the piece about lower ticket offers and having all of these different offers that you do have, and I'm sure there are people here watching who are in that position right now, because it seems easier. It's actually so much harder. And the way that you said it, I think, is so helpful, because you do have to think, and this is what we always like to say, every single course you have, whether it's $10 or $10,000, it's a business. It's its own business. So it requires customer service, it requires sales, it requires marketing, it requires fulfillment. So if you have 6 different courses slash businesses, you are spreading yourself so thin that you're not really able to grow any of them. So I call that like horizontal scaling
Mm-hmm.
instead of, or yes, horizontal scaling instead of vertical scaling. So vertical scaling comes from focus, and it comes from having one really impactful, really good, really valuable program. And that is so much easier to manage and maintain than trying to have a bunch of different offers. Let me know if
Yeah,
that landed.
and the other thing is that I forgot to mention is updating it. So
Yes.
if you're, oh my goodness, if you're having to update 5 or 6 courses that you made 3 or 4 years ago, instead of just every year going to your main program and say, okay, what results are my customers getting? Speak to the customers. Okay, What was that? What would have been more useful? What didn't it
Yes.
need? And then you're just honing this fine instrument of a program over time, and it's a pleasure to do that. Whereas
Mhm.
it can be a real, again, it's just attention being drawn in all these different ways.
It's a fast path to burnout to have multiple
Mm,
different courses because it's just physically impossible to try and update all of them all of the time. And
yeah,
so if
for
you
sure.
put all of your focus and attention into that one, you are going to just never ending. You're going to make it the best it can be. And it is going to be the premier program on the market because it's so effective. And you have so much social proof from the people who are bought into it and are getting results from it. And that really is the key to scale. It's not about having the fancy funnel, it's not about having the paid ads. The key to scaling a business is it works. I think people forget about that. Like, if the course doesn't work, it's not going to go very far.
Yeah,
So you have to make sure it works first and foremost.
absolutely.
How has that, when you, I think this is important to hear as well, because obviously on like the technical marketing side, you can talk about how it diversified your attention. But I think it's also really important to talk about how it affected you as a person and what your life looked like when you were tackling all these different things.
I mean, I was working more.
Yeah.
I mean, I work a lot now,
Mhm.
I, but it's a pleasure. If I'm not working, then I'm thinking about doing it because I love getting results for my students, and I
Yeah.
love making the YouTube videos most of the time. Sometimes it can be tiring, but you know it, and it's a much less fraught busyness because I
Yeah.
know what I'm doing and I know why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
When I was working just as hard on 5 or 6 different courses and trying to manage the different sales pages and then thinking, well, maybe I should be doing tests on this one, A/B tests on this one, and it was just this feeling of, chaos
Yeah.
rather than I'm working hard, but I know exactly why, and I know what I'm doing. Um, so that's the difference now, and I've always worked hard. I like it. I enjoy it,
Yeah.
but there's a big difference between working on something successful
Yes.
and focused than just
Yeah.
working, digging 100 holes in the garden for the sake of it. That's pointless
Yes.
work.
Yeah, I think that's such a great way to put it, and I think it goes back to kind of what I was saying when I was introducing you, is like you were trying all of these different things and you were doing the hard work and you were putting in the time, but nothing was moving forward. And I think that's the thing, when you know where your direction is going and you have a clear focus of what you're trying to do, the work becomes really enjoyable. And it's a famous quote, but when you know the why and you're clear on your why and your purpose, the how becomes easy. The how
Yeah,
becomes not a big deal. When you don't know what your why is and you don't know what your direction is, the how becomes painful and seems arbitrary because you're not actually moving anywhere.
yeah,
So I think that's a really great example of your own story and really kind of reverse engineering that and going, yeah, in the beginning, it was frustrating. Now you love to work. And I think that's a great conversation because I also love to work. But I love even more that I have the freedom to work when I want to and how I want to.
oh, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a big difference. And instead of feeling like I'm constantly under pressure because nothing's working.
yeah. I mean, my wife and I have just come back from Portugal to see family for a few weeks, and we were in Greece for our honeymoon over the summer. And you can choose to do these things if you want, and you're not thinking, oh no, if I'm not doing the work, then the business is going
Nothing's
to
going to
fail.
happen.
No, when you've got the
Yeah.
systems in place and you follow the steps, then you can do this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the biggest piece of it, is creating a business that actually complements your life and doesn't complicate it, I think is a huge key. And you've come so far in terms of that transformation from freelancer to where you are now. Um, what would you say was the biggest mindset shift for you in going from freelancer to highly successful online course creator?
The biggest thing that I found useful is seeking mentorship. I've read loads of business books before, all of this stuff, but just kind of not supplicating yourself, but just kind of, just saying, I want to learn, show me what to do,
Mm.
has been a massive change. And now in the future, for any skill I want to learn, I'm just going to find someone who's really good at it and who's already done it and say, can you show me how to do it, please?
I love it.
It's so
That was
much quicker.
faster. And that's why people come to you. That's the beauty of it, right? Like, I think it's
Yeah,
important to know that your habits are also reflected in how people are going to treat you. And one of our other clients just sent, who we spoke to recently, she was saying, like, I really had to recognize that by me investing in myself, I was showing up in a way that I wanted my clients to show up for me. And by really paying attention and asking for help and asking for mentorship, I was accelerating my growth, but I was also accelerating the growth of my clients because I could serve them in a better way. So it's just a ripple effect of making an even bigger impact.
yeah.
And it's not, throwing away money, it's investing in the future of your business and your success. And more than that, I think your
I,
sanity as well.
I can tell you when I've given anyone free access to any of my courses, any of my programs, they don't go through any of it.
Nope.
And I'm the same. That's why I pay for my gym membership up front.
Yes,
That if you pay to enter a program like the Authority Accelerator, the fact that you've got skin in the game makes you do stuff.
that part. Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. If someone says, "Oh yeah, just join in for free. You can come and join the gym for free," you'll lie there in bed and you'll think, "Well, maybe tomorrow."
Yeah, you're not, it's a psychological piece of not being totally invested.
Yeah,
When people who spend money pay, or people who pay attention.
yeah,
I think that's a big piece. And it's also understanding that, like I said, it's not just throwing money out the window. You're actually creating an investment for yourself that's going to pay back dividends. I mean,
yeah,
I think that's the part that's so important to understand. And one of the biggest pieces is, yes, you can think about it on a monetary sense. I know that you've been able to scale to, these 50K months, which is just incredible and consistently. And so you're doing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in revenue. But more than that, your life has changed and your level of peace, I'm sure, in your life has changed.
yeah. And I'm able to help people. I can help my mother and my brothers and sisters financially,
Yeah.
and I've also got the well, not spare time, but I can choose to take the time to go and see them, and
Yeah.
that's the best thing for me.
Yeah.
Family's great.
Yes, family's everything. We love family. That's awesome. I mean, I have it tattooed on my arm, but that is a core value for sure. And it's just that freedom to choose how you want to spend your time. So maybe that looks different for you watching, but whatever that is that you're like, man, it would be really nice if I had the flexibility and the time to be able to focus on this part of my life as well as my business. It's doable. And I think both you and I are proof of that being completely doable. I wanted to wrap up with some questions because there were some that came in. I also wanted to say, if you are interested and you haven't been able to connect with anyone yet today, super simple. You can email us at s@sunnyleonarduzzi.com with the subject line apply, and we'll connect you with Bree or Jacqueline on my team, and they will get in touch with you so we can actually support you in creating this reality for you. So let's dig into some of the questions that came up because there were quite a few. Also, people are quoting you, which is kind of cool. So that's that's great.
Yes, I made it.
Right? Um, Tong asked, did you ever have any doubts about getting success with your course when you look back from where you are right now?
Any doubts getting success with my course? What do you mean, for my
Like,
customers?
no,
Or
I
what do you
think for
mean?
yourself. Like, did you ever doubt that it was going to work?
Um, no, not once I made the
Wow.
decision.
I love it.
And that's because at that moment on the bench when I, said, I'm never going to put myself in this situation again, the decision was made.
Yeah.
It was going to work by hook or
Yeah.
by crook.
I love it. We talked about this actually off camera because you and I had very similar sort of tipping points just at different times in our lives. But prior to me starting this business, which I've now been doing for 6 years, I believe, I had, a consulting business, and one of my biggest clients was no longer existent. So I lost that contract, and that was my tipping point. And I was like, I'm giving myself a choice. I'm either going to take a job. I had two really good job offers on the table, or I'm going to give myself 12 months and I'm going to go full steam ahead and I'm going to make this business work. Fast forward, I obviously didn't take those jobs and I put my feet to the fire and I made it work. So I do think there's something to be said about that level of confidence and certainty that comes from going all in on yourself and betting on yourself. So I'm sure someone here needs to hear that today. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, I still have doubts like all the time, every day about stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll think, oh no, am I getting the results for my students? And then I'll look at the results of my students, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm getting results from my students. But
Okay.
you never really want to let. I don't want to rest on my laurels. Having a
Yeah.
little bit of doubt pushing me forwards is kind of what I want. But I always knew that, and I know I'll just keep on hitting those goals because I'm
Yeah.
not going to stop. And you can't fail if you don't give up.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Um, and I wanted to dig into one more question about just time because I know you said you like to work. I also like to work, but my schedule, I will say, admittedly, is like very balanced at this point. It has been for quite some time. When it comes to YouTube content, people always love to ask this question. And it really depends on the person. Everybody does this differently. Some people like to batch content. So they film a bunch at once and then never have to think about it again. And some people do it week by week. What's your process? How many hours are you spending on YouTube?
So the biggest thing that's really helped is having a good video editor. It took us
Mhm.
a couple of years to really find someone that we've really clicked with who does an excellent job, and that probably saves me 3 or 4 hours for each video. But what I teach on YouTube is very technical, so it takes a lot of time to prepare for each video. So each video takes me a day to prepare, to record, then export it, and then the guy will edit it, and then I'll publish it. So I kind of factor in a day all in for each video, and I'm doing one video a week. Sometimes I'll record 2 in a day, but each of my videos are like 50 to 60 minutes long, again, because of the technical nature of it. And I've found those are the ones that engage my audience. But my other friend who has a music production channel that's successful on YouTube, he just does really short things like how to make your voice sound cool in 3 minutes. And that's
Mm.
his format that works for
Mhm.
his audience. So I'm
Mhm.
spending about a day a week on YouTube, maybe 2 days a week. I should really be releasing, if I was releasing 2 YouTube videos a week, then it would be growing faster. So I'm sure I'll do that over the winter when I'm not
Yeah.
swanning about.
Yeah, when you're not on vacation.
Yeah.
We love vacation. I love it. I love the honesty. And like I said, and that's a really great point, as you mentioned, it really is different. It's different depending on the channel, just the style of content, who you're trying to reach and serve. It's completely different for everybody. So you really have to kind of find your groove. And the only way to find your groove is to actually start doing it and to start testing it out. Um, all right, let's see. Do, 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 do. Any other questions? Brian, that's okay. You're not going to interrupt the program. All you got to do is just put apply. That's not going to interrupt anything. All right, let's see. Oh, um, Tong, that question is great, but not applicable, unfortunately, because Will is very far past that phase of his business. So we'll kind of move past that one. But if there's any other questions, feel free to drop them. And I wanted to be respectful of your time as well. Well, I think one thing to kind of wrap up on is a really simple question. I know there are people here. We've had hundreds of people actually tune in throughout the course of this, which is really amazing. And you've given so much value. So thank you so much for that. For anyone who's sitting there, maybe who is in your position prior to you enrolling, and it's kind of on the fence and going, I just don't know, I'm not feeling certain about this. Do you have any advice for people who are thinking about joining the Authority Accelerator?
Yeah, if you've decided that you want to build a successful online business, then join the Authority Accelerator. If you're not sure whether you want to do an online business, then work that out first.
Yeah.
But when you made that decision, then definitely, because you're going to have it. Just having a step-by-step approach and then people to help guide you in the right direction is just going to save you years.
Yeah, absolutely. I
It's as
mean,
simple as that.
yes, I love simplicity, so I'm here for it. I think that's the most simplistic answer we've ever had to that question. It's great. I love it so much, and I hope that landed for people. If you're serious about it, if you've made that decision, honestly, I always just say, like, what are you waiting for? Because the longer you wait, the longer you stay exactly where you are, and the longer you're going to be throwing spaghetti at the wall trying to figure this out on your own, when you could literally just have a proven path and be in a community with people like me, like Will, and all these people who have come before you and have done this successfully. And like I said, we have a whole slew of interviews just like this on the YouTube channel. If you're watching the YouTube channel right now, if you want even more inspiration and motivation that this is the right choice for you. So not to toot my own horn, but it works.
It does work. And the other thing that I can imagine people wonder about is whether they've got a skill that people want to learn. But in my experience, if you're 25, 30, if you're that kind of age or above, you've already got loads of experience that people will pay for. You just might not have unearthed it yet. So the Authority Accelerator will help you unearth that and find that sweet spot.
Thanks, Will. And I think also understanding, like I said earlier, Bree and Jacqueline from my team are here, and part of what they're going to do with you on these calls is really help you identify that niche and identify the direction you're going to head in. So knowing that as the foundation, we're going to set you up for success. And no, it's not a paid call. We do these for free. And it's for us to ensure that you're going to be at the right place for this program to actually make sense for you and for you to get the biggest impact, and we can work with you on that journey. I just want to say thank you, and thank you for sharing so openly.
It's a pleasure.
Some people don't want to talk about like the beginning stages of being an entrepreneur and where they've come from. And I just think it's so valuable because everybody starts from zero. Everybody starts somewhere. So I'm really grateful. I know this has been really helpful for people who have tuned in, and thank you to everyone who has tuned in with us for the last hour. Really appreciate your time. There's so many other things you could be doing. And I would just say, if you're still sitting here watching this, take that as a sign, because it's a rare thing to sit with us for an hour and be as invested as you are if you're not serious about doing this for yourself. So thank you. We hope to see you inside of the program. Like I said, email us at s@sunnyleonarduzzi.com with subject line apply. And we hope to see you on the inside. Thanks again, Will. Thank you everyone for watching. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.